actually. She's a conscious mother, and we are very delighted to have her here with us today. Explainable and are scientifically or spiritually supported, with adequate amount of due diligence, so that what we're putting out in the marketplace for people to learn from our experience is authentic. Yeah, and therefore once we have done that process, we put it on our website, and that's how it gets distributed, to different people who are interested. So if you go to our website, you'll see our past events on nutrition, mental health, and so on. And there's a big, sort of the whole event is usually recorded and available. And also what's available is, an executive summary of the takeaways from that event. So we spent a lot of time curating the takeaways, so that we can present a balanced perspective, what we call as the TQIW house view, on the event. And once that is done, then we, recommend all our friends and resources and connections to spread that as much as possible, free of cost, to as many people as possible, so they can take advantage of the healing capabilities that are available to all of us, and that we can, use and deploy, select, and practice, for our best well-being. So what are we trying to do in this institute? What we are really trying to do in this institute is bring solitaires and gems together. Solitaires are people who are actually have got some domain expertise, but are masters in their own right. Like Yogesh is a solitaire. He knows a particular domain very, very well. He's one of the best in the country, for that domain. And our job is to cherry pick in the marketplace the best solitaires we can get from different domains, so that collectively we can put a community together which has as many domains that we can find that are represented around the table, right, in the community. So allopathy, homeopathy, Ayurveda, energy medicine, you name it. We are still learning how big this domain is, and there are hundreds of domains there, but we are getting a pretty good idea, of the big picture and the most important domains and the most effective domains, and we are bringing all these experts together under one roof. And we are then also, so we are collecting solitaires, as I said, and the other people that we are hoping to collect is people, many of you have fallen into that category, is what I call seekers, who are looking for these kind of people for their own well-being. They don't want to go into mainstream medicine first shot. They understand that there's a bigger picture, there's a better way to heal, and they would like to, sort of work with a community where they're open, if they have a chronic disease, to do homeopathy instead of going, allopathic. And for allopathic, they will go for surgery, because allopathy is the best in surgery if there's an emergency, for emergency medicine, and so on and so forth. So to develop an understanding of what's the best intervention that's possible, under what circumstances, developing that consciousness, in the community is what our goal is. And therefore we have solitaires and gems. Gems are the seekers who are coming to looking for those solitaires. And this has to work as a community together, because, practitioners need, serious, clients, if I may call them. I don't like to use the word patients. And, clients need serious, authentic, solitaires, to trust and to be able to choose and do some therapies. Unfortunately, in the market, can you put out all mobile phones, please? Unfortunately, 99%, if not more, of so-called practitioners in the marketplace do not pass the due diligence test. Yeah, they are not adequately trained, and they are not adequately experienced, but they position themselves as their grandmasters. Do a one-week Reiki course and you become a grandmaster and all that nonsense. You know that better than I do. I don't have to waste my time. So one of the strengths of our institute is to really look for people who are really credible, deep domain knowledge, lot of expertise, lot of experience, lot of wisdom, and follow the spiritual, recipe for helping people heal themselves. There's a recipe here, and the first thing it shows up on is pricing, and so it's very easy to start figuring out who's genuine, who's not genuine from our viewpoint in this game by just looking at pricing, the psychology of pricing, So our job is to bring the best people together and put them all in one community, and then the community interacts with each other, they have experiences with each other, so it's like a new family, that you are establishing, and then over a period of time when things start working, you develop the confidence, you talk to your friends, relatives, and so on and so forth. That's how it begins to expand and snowball over a period of time. And we believe in quality. That's very important to us. Quality and scale don't coexist. That's our very strong belief. So we're going to have limiting this community to 250, 300 people. Once we have reached that, then we'll figure out what to do next, because we do want the benefit to go on to other people. And the answer to that may be a hub and spoke kind of situation, like the Goenkaji's model in Vipassana, where every center is independent, but they work to a common beat. Yeah, they have a common recipe for operations. So another Tony Singh will set up one in Bangalore, another Tony Singh will set up one in Fez in Morocco, and so on and so forth. And they all network with each other. They're welcome to take our experience, our expertise there, and we can borrow from there if they can bring something from there, and so on and so forth. This is an organic organization because it's a community, it's not a business, and we are evolving as we learn. We don't have all the answers, so we are sort of growing all together. And every day we learn something more, and we adjust our sites to what we learn as we go along. And this also serves as a networking forum for the best-in-class people. Yeah, so we have absolutely wonderful resources here in our institute now, both formally and informally. We have about 103 members who are formally signed up. We have another 700 people who are sitting, experiencing us in different ways, and they will filter through if they are serious slowly as it goes in this way of building a community, because people have to understand what this community is all about, who is it, do I have the time, and so on and so forth. So it's building very beautifully. 103 members, when our sites are only about on 300 people in the first year, is actually quite a good collection of people. What we are looking for is quality, the people who are serious and who are willing to be open-minded and are willing to do the Kar Seva in this institute, because this institute is run not on money as much as it runs in the collective efforts and energies of all its members. Yeah, and we are independent and neutral, so we don't have any alliances with anybody, and we don't endorse anybody. We come to an independent view, whether it's right or wrong. Yeah, but that's our view. We publish it with complete transparency. What we are not is, we are not a commercial organization. We are not in business for profit. Business is your responsibility. Our job is to inspire you. So if one of you wants to open an integrated hospital tomorrow, we'll be delighted. We'll try to support you as much as we can with our knowledge platform, with our connections, contacts, this, that, and the other. If some of you want to start up a holistic, integrated medicine practice, 5 doctors working together, that's great. And some people are already beginning to do that in our community. So some people are already considering, opening integrated hospitals. They're changing their models. Some people are already beginning to form practices, and some individuals are beginning to change the way they do their individual practice to holistic and integrated approaches to well-being. So very interesting things are beginning to happen here. We are not an advertising platform, so we don't advertise anybody. For us, all our members are equal, but as we go forward, we will have space on our website where our members can communicate with the community as to what they bring to the table. Yeah, and we have a format and a due diligence process for that. But honest representation of a member's skill can be put on the website with the due disclaimers that it's your responsibility to figure out whether you trust or do not trust, the healer or the practitioner, as the case may be. And we are not aligned to any promoters of any business, and we are not an event management company. So we are adding on to this as we go forward, but that's really what it is. So imagine a village, which has a community which focuses on well-being, and where people are either healers or they're coming to get healed. That's really what it is, right? It is a kind of a virtual community. And this is what the future is of the world as we go forward. We are not going to be in traditional communities anymore. We are going to be in communities of common interest and intentional communities, because that's really where the synergies are. And that is the new order of being able to work together in the world of tomorrow. That's what we believe. And so with that, one of the initiatives we are focusing on is food, because if you go back to our present macro event on nutrition, we did a lot of work on nutrition. It's available on our website. Nutrition is the lowest hanging fruit in terms of medicine to heal yourself. A lot of dysfunctionality and problems arise today because of the poor quality and quantity of nutrition that we are consuming because we are not mindful of what we are eating. Yeah, so there's a huge bunch of very good knowledge available there, and I would encourage all of you to have a look at it. You have your own, sort of reference points as well, but please, do become sensitive to the issue of nutrition. Yeah, part of the nutrition problem is what to eat, and then how to get the right quality of food to eat. So you can get a lot of gyan from our website, including a very succinct chart of what to eat more of, what to eat less of, what to stop eating and what to start eating. It's based and biased by some belief systems, which you may or may not agree to. For example, we recommend don't eat garlic and onion because there's a lot of talking about what garlic and onion is all about in our Indian scriptures, and right down supported by a lot of people who understand the real value of garlic and onion. Yeah, they are medicinal plants, and therefore they should be taken as medicine in medicine quantities for medical reasons, for their specific purpose. They're very, very effective for that, but you don't use them on garlic toast every day, yeah, for example, yeah. So, you have to, sort of take your own interest in this because, there's not one formula that meets everybody's, educational background, belief system, conditioning and all that stuff. But, there's some basic commonsensical knowledge there, and you can figure out for yourself what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Do you have the courage to give up garlic toast or not? Yeah. And so one of the things we are doing as part of the initiatives in this community is to find access to quality organic food. Yeah. The one big problem that we have right now is that whilst we know what's the best thing to eat, we can't get the best quality of that food. So because there's so much contamination in the marketplace, all our seeds have been hybridized or, or being re-engineered and so on and so forth. Wheat is no longer the wheat that is good for us, yeah, and therefore the commercial wheat you get, for example, in the marketplace, was quantity oriented, it was not quality oriented. We have lost control over good quality wheat. As a result of that, all the people who are eating wheat have got, all kinds of issues relating to their health, which the allopathic world can't figure out. Yeah, the mainstream world can't figure out because they can't make that connection. Yeah, same thing with milk. Yeah, and the use of hormones, the use of pesticides, genetically modified, food, etc. It's a horror story. So what we are trying to do is, at least within the community, we are trying to pool in resources so that we can all, chip in and create a food pool that we can share amongst ourselves, which we know is genuine. So for the community members who are here today, I want to introduce Dinesh. Dinesh, please come here. Dinesh is, so we are in the process of sourcing people who have access to pure organic food. He's one of them, right? And so he lives, I'm going to give him the mic for 2 minutes. I'm going to tell you he's going to bring for the community about 400-500 kilos of different pulses in the next 15 days or so, which we're going to distribute amongst in our community on a first member, first served basis. And we are looking for more people. For example, I only eat the food that 95% of the food that I personally grow at my farm, which is about 100 kilometers from here. And in 4 months time frame where I've become a vegan and I've established a very strong control over my food and eat only stuff which I know is substantially organic or almost organic, I can feel a huge difference to my being and my energy level, my clarity of thoughts, everything. It's a huge change. And that is, that's happened. Similarly, we did a workshop on water where we spent a lot of time to make sure that you're drinking the right quantity and quality of water. And, you can go to our website and see that. We did a lot of research in that area, and we finally decided that, we want to go in for Kangen water. And so many of us are beginning to consume that, and that makes a huge difference as well. So slowly, we're beginning to fix a lot of things that will keep us more healthier than without being conscious about many of them. So Dinesh bhai, 2 minutes में आप बताओ कहाँ से आते हो और आप क्या ला रहे हो और हम कैसे जान सकते हैं कि जो आप चीज़ लेके आओगे वो सच है और झूठ नहीं है।
नमस्ते जी, मेरी तरफ से नवरात्रि और नए वर्ष की आप सभी को शुभकामनाएं। मैं बुंदेलखंड से मध्य प्रदेश के ज़िला छतरपुर डिस्ट्रिक्ट से हूँ। मैं यहाँ पे पेशेवर प्लम्बर हूँ, 17-18 साल से काम कर रहा हूँ। बचपन से खेती करते हुए देखता आया हूँ और मैंने अपने हाथ से भी कुछ 2-4 साल करी है। अब धीरे धीरे मैंने यहाँ देखा जो ऑर्गेनिक की बातें चली, तो मैंने घर पे बात करी थी पिताजी से कि ऐसा ऐसा अगर हम करेंगे तो हमारी फसलें, हमें थोड़े दाम भी अच्छे मिलेंगे और क्वालिटी हमारी अच्छी होगी तो ठीक तरीके से बिक भी जाएगी। तो पिछले 2 साल से हमने शुरू करा था तकरीबन 20 बीघे में, पर वो मौसम की मार ऐसी है कि अब इस साल फसल थोड़ी अच्छी होनी थी तो बीच में अगले महीने ओले वृद्धि हो गई, तो आधी फसल तो उसमें बर्बाद हो गई। तो कुछ क्वांटिटी में ख्याल 600-700 किलो निकली है, तो उसमें से 100-200 किलो कुछ दालें हम अपने लिए रखते हैं, बाकी अगर यहाँ पे लानी है मेरे को तो मैं 10 से 15 दिन में दे देंगे। उसमें ना हम यूरिया मिलाते हैं ना DAP मिलाया है अभी 2 साल से, और जो भी है जितना भी गोबर की खाद गौमूत्र वगैरह मिला के वो ड्रम में मिक्सिंग करके छिड़काव करके जिस तरीके से जितनी हमारे को अभी नॉलेज थी, बाकी धीरे धीरे मैं कलेक्ट करता जा रहा हूँ इधर से उधर से, उसके हिसाब से वो फसल करी है। मैं उसके कुछ सैंपल भी लेकर आया हूँ, पहले भी साहब को कुछ सैंपल दिए थे। तो मेरे हिसाब से मैंने 1-2 जगह और स्टोरों में, मैं प्लम्बर हूँ तो अदर मतलब पालम बिहार एरिया में रहता हूँ तो काफ़ी घरों में जाता हूँ, तो जो लोग रिलेशन में उनके घर पे मैंने कुछ सैंपल दिए हैं उन्होंने उसको, और कुछ जो टाटा के हैं, मंथरा के हैं, कुछ नबदानिया के हैं, उन्होंने कंप्रोमाइज़ करके देखा तो उन्होंने बताया कि आपके प्रोडक्ट ठीक हैं। तो इस बारे में मैं कुछ प्रोडक्ट भी लेके आया हूँ और मैं आशा करता हूँ कि अगर आप लोग उसको इस्तेमाल करेंगे तो अच्छे होंगे, और हम कोशिश करेंगे अपनी तरफ से उसको, जितने दिन हम उसको आगे बढ़ते चले जाएंगे तो अच्छा होता चला जाएगा। 5 से 6 साल में जो हमारी ज़मीन है वो पूरी तरीके से ऑर्गेनिक हो जाएगी। पिछले 2 साल से बुंदेलखंड में सूखे का प्रभाव है बुरी तरीके से। अभी मैं अपने गांव की हालत बताता हूँ, वहाँ में पानी पीने की भी लोगों को इतनी परेशानी है कि लोग सुबह 3-3 बजे उठ के हैंडपम्प से पानी भरते हैं। तो पानी की प्रॉब्लम से हम जो चीज़ें सोचते हैं वो कर नहीं पाते, क्योंकि हम बहुत छोटे लेवल के किसान होते हैं। अगर हमें प्रॉपर ऑर्गेनिक अगर 100 एकड़ में भी करना है या 100 बीघे में भी करना है तो उसके पीछे 10-15 लाख रुपए चाहिए, जो हम लोगों के पास नहीं होते। हम अपना गुजारा उसी में करते हैं और उसी से करते हैं। तो बहुत कम लोग गांव में इस चीज़ को सोच पाते हैं कि वो ऑर्गेनिक करें। कईयों को तो ऑर्गेनिक का पता ही नहीं है। आजकल का जो है कि अगर हम 1 बीघे में 10 क्विंटल उगाते हैं तो इस तरीके के खाद डालते हैं कि वो 12, 14, 15 हो, क्योंकि जितना होगा उतना प्रॉफिट मिलेगा। तो ऑर्गेनिक के बारे में मैंने यहाँ तक सुना था तो उसको शुरू करा है, और मैं कोशिश करूँगा पूरी कि उसको प्योरिटी तक ले जाऊँ कि वो 100% ऑर्गेनिक हो जाए।
And we will support him because we will buy out his product and give it a better price than he gets today. Yeah, and then he will maybe even give him a loan to put a tube well so that he can get the water that he needs, so he can support this whole, whole process much better. And so stage 1 is that stop using fertilizers and all today. What is already in the ground we can't change overnight. There is technology available to do that in Sri Lanka, which we have discovered. So we're going to make a trip there to an institute, which is connected to a friend of mine, and they have figured out a way how to reverse, all this pesticides, etc., through natural processes. So we are going to, do that, because ensuring supply of proper food is going to be extremely important. And so the idea is to find authentic people who can relate to this vision, who can be honest about it. Out of the 20-odd people who worked here, he was one of the top guys, whom I spotted, and spoke to him, and he's already brought samples which I've tried. The food tastes completely different, which they use for themselves, for example. So, we will set up that distribution system as one of the big initiatives for the community. Okay, so now I want to go on to putting the context for this evening's presentation. And you are going to be on a flight into outer space, and the flight announcement is what I want to make to you to prepare you for this flight, because you're dealing with a subject which is not very well known. So I want to share with you some believe it or not statements which strike me after I spend time with Yogesh and try to understand this domain and try to understand, a little bit more than what we know, And I call it the alternative reality at this point of time. First of all, there is a creator, by whatever name called. Some people call him the supreme source, some people call him God, somebody call him something else. But there is a process of creation. There's no doubt about it. And, has to be a creator if there's so much creation going on in the world. Whatever belief system you may belong to, you cannot deny this. You plant a seed and it begins to grow, right? Children get born, right? And so on and so forth. So the sun rises, the sun, sets, and, to perfection of time. So It can't be there's nobody behind it. It's maybe not a human being like us, but there's something, yeah? And secondly, we are part of that creation. We are also growing. We get born, we grow, and then we die. We are part of that creation process, yeah? And we are part of, and this creation, process is part of the universe and nature. The universe is very vast. I mean, it is unbelievably vast, right? We are just a small speck in it. We can't even comprehend the size of the universe of which we are a part of, yeah? And therefore, we are very much part of nature, yeah? And the rules of nature are very complex and not understood, yeah? I think the best attempt to try and explain the complexity of how nature works is the book of Fritjof Capra. For those of you who have read his work, The Systems View of Life, and yeah, he tries to explain, how nature works, yeah, and how different it is than what we believe is how things work, yeah, because we are very linear thinkers and very compartmentalized, yeah, in our approach of thinking. But it is an extremely complex process, and it's interrelated. There are feedback loops, one into the other, and so on and so forth, yeah. And therefore, quite frankly, we all know very, very little. And the human body is the most complex machine on the planet. Just imagine, we eat something in the morning and what comes out the next day, and, the energy that's generated in the day and the complexities that are happening is the most, and, people who claim they know the human body, I think they're fooling themselves. There's nobody really who knows the human body more than, in my view, more than even 2%, yeah? And that's why I think a doctor's job is a very difficult job, because he has to heal people with such little knowledge on such a complex problem. And therefore, the only chance we have to be able to look after ourselves and help the doctors and help everybody else who's trying to heal is to share and learn from each other and try to expand our toolbox. Yeah, and cooperate and collaborate instead of compete with each other. So there's no competition to my mind between allopathy and homeopathy. There's just an opportunity for collaboration if you can figure it out. Yeah, and that's what we are trying to do, is to raise the consciousness, on that and dissolve the boundaries of the verticals. Yeah, so I meet two kind of doctors. So I say, "So doc, what do you think about homeopathy?" "Oh, rubbish. I don't believe it or not." So another kind of doctor I meet, fantastic, good in certain cases. I take the treatment myself. As an allopathic doctor, I take homeopathic treatment for this ailment. So that's the view. So guess which kind of doctors we are trying to cherry pick into our system, yeah? And therefore, and the body, a very big paradigm change for all of us is that the body is 98% energy and not matter, as has been currently believed, yeah? And quantum physics and quantum thinking is all beginning to show that up very clearly for everybody's understanding. And because it's 98% energy, understanding, managing, and balancing different energies is an essential pathway to well-being. This is perhaps the most difficult thing to understand, this whole department of energetics, because energetics is not taught to the mainstream. There are some institute of energetics in the world, but it's very difficult even till today to find somebody who can give a comprehensive view on energetics, because this space is also very wide and very complex and there's so much energy. You'll get a flavor of that today through Yogesh's presentation, yeah? And interactions are possible with energies, whether they could be aliens, they could be co-housed with you in your body, or they could be possessed and controlling you. You may not want to believe it, but this is believe it or not, yeah? And similarly, you can talk to your cells, the energy in your cells, your organs, your chakras, and your kosh, yeah? And the mind is a very powerful and can be mastered to command your cells to work at the quantum level. Quantum word means that you are looking at something really at the lowest common denominator, which cannot be further subdivided. Like 1 paisa cannot be made into half a paisa. So 1 paisa becomes the quantum expression of money for the rupee, yeah? So similarly, when you look at any situation, the idea is to first drill down to come to the lowest common denominator and then look out from there. That's really what quantum physics is all about, yeah? And therefore, there is a very strong belief, and I've seen too much evidence of it. I can only share with you that you have a very, very powerful capability which God has given all of us, which is our mind, and therefore by training our mind to the right level, you can actually do miracles which are not actually miracles because it's an expression of knowledge and expertise that you develop, which other people don't understand. Example of that is the sages in India could dematerialize themselves and then rematerialize themselves completely because they had reached that level of concentration in their mind to be able to control, their capability, to that level. They could leave their bodies at will and so on and so forth. And you have seen and heard many of these stories. Maybe you've met some people who have actually experienced this, but that is the level of empowerment that exists if you are able to be, open-minded enough to leverage that. Okay, yeah. So I want to just give you a little flavor of the complexity of the human body. Belief is that we have 5 layers, 5 to 7 layers, depending on how you count them. 7 chakras, 5,000 enzymes approximately are involved in managing your body. There's an electromagnetic system. There are 9 major functional systems. There are 79 organs, 11 organic systems, 5 vital organs. The males and females are different. Reproduction capability is a gift to the women. For example, body is completely different than a male. There are 72,000 nadis which are connected to another 114 chakras, which are sub-chakras, to the 7 chakras. And there is a life force that is operating in your body, which has time limits. Yeah, that's why you die one day, right? You can't live eternally. So, just reflect on this for a minute. Yeah, this is the complexity you're dealing with. You think anybody really understands the complexity and can manage this and knows everything, how to deal with it? Seriously, anybody thinks we can? We can manage bits and pieces of it, but we can't even comprehend the system and the interconnectivity of the system. Yeah? So that's why time has come that you stop looking at the systems you find and then try to use that knowledge to be able to treat the possibilities for well-being that are possible because you can change your lens and you can get the expertise, from a different set of mindsets, who can understand this and can help you. And there are people like that in our community, right? Some fantastic healers who can see the big picture, who can tell you how you can empower yourself to heal yourself. But that's not the subject for today, but you'll meet them around, when you interact with them. So the paradigm changes that you have to get used to understand the new language is to move from the physical to the metaphysical, from present life influence to past and present life influences. Some people believe there's no past life, there's no influence. Yeah, you'll see some evidence of it today. Yeah, and then you make up your mind what you believe in. An outside in view to an inside out view, that's a quantum view, to look at things from bottoms up. And you look at not only visible phenomena, but invisible phenomena, because energies are invisible, just like the cell phones. You can't see the wire. I mean, isn't it amazing that I can press a few buttons here and I can speak to my wife in France, who's in the metro? Isn't it amazing? It is amazing, right? And what's in between? There's some energies, right, which are taking the messages across. We can see them. Similarly, a whole bunch of energies are related to our body, which we can't see. But we have to understand what they are to the best of our knowledge. Yeah? And then we have been very used to evidence-based medicine. That means, in the Western world, they want evidence of everything. You can't find evidence of anything. Can you give me evidence of when you're going to die? You can, right? So you have to look at experience-based results. Yeah, that's a big change because if we keep sticking to evidence-based medicine, we're not going to be able to make the move. Yeah, what's important is evidence, and there's no better evidence than you yourself having experienced it. We've got 4 people here who are going to share their evidence today, right, as part of this meeting, so that you can get a feel for what that means. Because we can never provide scientifically proven evidence for their experience, but you have to hear the story, yeah, so you can get a feel for what it's all about. Then we have to move on from genetics to epigenetics, because you can, with the power of your mind, you can change your destiny. You can reprogram your DNA. Yeah, plenty of evidence on that. Some very big names, Bruce Lipton and all that are proving that. There's plenty of evidence now that is beginning to work. And then move from synthetic medicines to natural cures. God has given in nature the pharmacy to heal you completely. but we have lost the knowledge. Usually, the belief is that within 100 odd miles of where you live, you have all the herbs and everything to keep you okay. But you should know what that is. Yeah, you don't have to go further than that. It's all there. Yeah, and therefore a whole bunch of natural cures, which were very well prevalent in our grandmother's time, we've lost those completely. And then, you know, we always run to doctors for assistance, and now we have to get into self-management and help from practitioners, not only mainstream doctors, and the connection with the Creator, right? How to heal yourself, yeah? So that's the paradigm shift that one has to go through. Right now, we are faced with a lot of we're faced with a lot of trust deficit, you know, because our education system has broken down. So we've got doctors hanging around there who didn't even write their exams, yeah? And if you're going to them for treatment, guess what you're going to get, yeah? So time has come where you have no choice but to invest your time to become half a doctor yourself, yeah? And heal yourself as much as you can and take help from whatever you can't handle yourself, yeah? And this community hopefully will give you some clues of how to handle that situation. So I want to introduce Yogesh Chaudhary. You know, I'm not going to present to you his what I call charismatic biodata that normally flies around, but I look at his skill set from a different perspective. Yeah, for me, you know, he is a mechanical engineer, so he's an engineer. He's fully trained up, you know, in so-called the you know, linear world. Yeah. And understands, engineering very well. He served in the Air Force for 20 years. He spent a decade as a strategic business unit head in the corporate sector. He's been practicing hypnotherapy for 16 years. And he's interacted with over 10,000 diverse souls. This is actually the most important qualification from my perspective. He has got experience, yeah, based results worth 10,000 souls. It's a different way of counting, yeah? And he has interacted with various forms of energies, and he's going to give you a flavor of all that, right? Because he's going to open the department of energies, which I said is not even taught to people, right? Which is so important for us to understand as we go forward. And you are, can I disclose your age? 71? 76. 76 years of chronological age with 10,000 experiences with souls is a very strong qualification, more than anything else. Yeah, so he's a master, as I said, and we are fortunate to have him here to come and present. He is very conscious about his time. He is teaching now. A lot of his time is spent on teaching people, and some of his students are here, and he's doing absolutely great work to making sure that people understand and don't misunderstand what hypnotherapy is all about, and can use it under the appropriate circumstances for well-being and results. So with that, I want to now invite two people now and another two people at the end of the presentations who will share a little story about how they benefited from hypnotherapy. So can I ask Ivana to please come? Ivana, wonderful. Will you introduce yourself a little bit? Yeah, and then tell us your story.
Well, okay. Hello, everyone. It is a great honor to be here with all of you. I was asked to share my experience with Dr. Yogesh. I met him when I came to his course as student. So at one of the classes, Dr. Yogesh was teaching us about phobias and fears. So I volunteered to be a subject at that practice because I had severe phobia of rats. And it went to that extent that in the childhood I used to have nightmares with rats. I used to wake up in tears and in fear, and it was very severe. But luckily in Serbia I didn't have many chance to face actually my fears. So first time I saw in physical reality, I saw that when I was 25 years old, and I was recovering from that experience for about a week because I was totally shocked. So what happened during the session, Dr. Yogesh took me to the point of origin of the cause of that fear. So I found myself in Russia in previous life, where I was a homeless person and where I had to live with rats. And they were all around me, and I will not now go into details of that life. Anyway, it was very traumatic for me. I was shaking during that session. Dr. Yogesh knows I was literally experiencing that fear. I was experiencing the cold of Russia. I was experiencing everything that was happening in that life. So Dr. Yogesh, step by step, took me through the process itself to release that fear. Because my main aim was to release that fear, not because I see rats every day or it is limiting for my current life. It was because I know that all beings are divine beings, and I didn't want to have any lower thought, even a thought towards those beings coming also from God. So for me, that was the real aim. And when I first came to India, I knew that I will have to face rats at some point. Not possible to come here and not to not to be faced with the rats. Yeah. So anyway, it happened, and after session, I have to say that fear was completely gone. I was tested 2 days after session. I saw one rat, and the first feeling was I felt a bit awkward and unpleasant, but the next time when it happened, fear was completely gone. So it took only one session there at the class to completely remove such a deep fear. So Dr. Yogesh will explain more about technique itself, but I just wanted to share my experience, how it happened for me, and to say just be open, because it is possible. Maybe it will take for some people 2, 3 sessions, 5 sessions, but it is possible. So in my case, that fear was coming from past life, and it was completely released and resolved in only one session with Dr. Yogesh. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the TQIW family for giving me this opportunity to share an experience of mine with Sir. I've been associate connected with Sir for multiple years now, and I was a student and a client, and I've learned tremendous amount from him and still learning. So I'd like to share an experience that I had just last year. It was regarding my daughter. At that time, she was 8 years old, and she had tremendous separation anxiety from me, to the extent that when the school kids, her classmates, would go to camp, she would go in herself, inform the teacher, I have separation anxiety from my mother, so I'm sorry, I can't go. And she never attended any school camps. If I had to travel for work, for teaching purposes, it was really a huge ordeal, and most of the times I'd end up canceling. So then, Sir, I approached Sir and I said, this is my presenting issue. I'd like for you to work on my daughter, but because of her age, she's rather young, only 8, it would be difficult for him to work on her directly, or for me to work on her directly. So he recommended that we do an astral body session. Now, what does that mean? Sir will be sharing that with you through his presentation. But what he basically did is that he put me into hypnotic trance, and he requested my daughter's astral body to be present during this session so that he could work on her mind, her energies, through my physical body instrument. Okay, so when her astral body came forward during this session, she regressed to a past life where I was again her mother. I died as her mother at a very young age, and she died within a year. And the last thought that she carried with her was that I can't live without my mother. I want to be with her only. So she carried that thought and the emotions, the anxiety of being separated from her mother in that life, all that anxiety with her as an imprint, as energies, into her current life. Now, Sir, with his expertise and advanced hypnotherapy past life regression techniques released the energies that were creating those thoughts, the thoughts about always wanting to be with the mother, and the feelings of anxiety from her in the past life. Well, that sounds like a great story, but what was the end result? Well, I went home that very same day, and I was sitting on the balcony with, my whole family, their father, the kids, and a friend of mine. And for the first time in her 8.5 years, she came out, she looked at us, and she went and sat in her father's lap for the very first time. Otherwise, it never happened. If I'm around, she has to be piled onto my lap or sitting next to me, holding my hand or something like that. But that was not the icing on the cake. The icing on the cake was 2 days later, she walked up to me and she said, I think I'm okay now. I'm ready to go to camp this year, because they were supposed to go a month later. And I had not mentioned to her about the session. I had not mentioned to her that anything had been done for this kind of a result to come forward. So it was an occasion, it was an experience where immediately we could see the results of hypnotherapy, past life regression, and so bringing it all together. And till date, it's been over 8-9 months now. I'm very comfortable, and she's still very comfortable with the thought of leaving me and going to camp this year. So now I've begun to travel more, and my life is also a lot easier. So I'd like to thank Sir for that.
This may sound completely wacko to many people in this room, and that's okay. I just also wanted to share with you, it no longer sounds wacko to me. About 4 or 5 years ago, I spent a week with Brian Weiss in New York at the Omega Center. I was there in the room with him for a week. There were 150 people there. 50% of them were doctors, and he was demonstrating and teaching how to do past life regression. And I saw stuff there which completely reinforced my belief that there is something that works here, right? And it's worth learning about. I've also personally experienced talking to the astral body of my daughter, through a medium, and it's just unbelievable, what happens, in that process. So with that, Yogesh, I invite you, and then we will have 2 more stories at the end of his presentation. We'll take all the, echo ko fix kar do yaar. Yeah, we will take all the questions in the end. So please hold on to any questions. No interruptions during his presentation. Please make a note of the questions, and if you want some paper, we can give you some. So there are some papers here. We have anticipated most of the questions, and they'll be answered automatically as part of his presentation. But net of that, if there's still some questions left, we will certainly, take them, from you. Can you please switch off your mobile phones and for the next two hours or so, because it's and we don't want to be distracted. And mobile phones are energies, So let's get rid of that for at least for a couple of hours, please. And tea and coffee is at the back, so please, there's no formal break because it's such an interesting subject. We don't want to lose time. If you feel like having water, tea, coffee, or a snack, it's at the back. Just quietly pick up whatever you like. So with Yogesh, a warm welcome to you, Guruji. I'm just delighted to have you with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, TQ.